Joining us now is Corey Lewandowski, a senior advisor to the president-elect, joins us live once again here on the Hill. Corey, thanks for being with us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You got it. So let's start with who's going to be and maybe not going to be at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, as you heard Robert say there, at Mar-a-Lago. We asked John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, to be, if he was going to be there, and his team told us there is no announcement. Does John Thune need to be at Mar-a-Lago this weekend? Do you believe he's all in for Trump, and should he be?
Well, he absolutely should be all in for Trump. The reason that Senator Thune is the majority leader and not the minority leader is because Donald Trump went and got his colleagues elected, specifically in Ohio and Pennsylvania, obviously helped in Montana and West Virginia also. So that being said, this is the party of Donald Trump. John Thune knows that. Speaker Mike Johnson knows that, and they have both committed to move the Trump agenda forward. And in the Senate case, that means getting swift hearings for his nominees.
Does he need to be down there at Mar-a-Lago like Mike Johnson is? I mean, Mike Johnson's a steady presence there. This is a new role for John Thune.
Yeah, he doesn't. Listen, there's a lot of activity at Mar-a-Lago right now. I'm sure Senator Thune is welcomed to come to Mar-a-Lago, but he doesn't need to be there. There's a lot of activity that's taking place. The president continues, as he did today, to name senior members of his White House and the cabinet officials. And John is not read in on those things, nor does he need to be. So I think it's perfectly fine. To the senior members of the campaign moving to the White House, I don't think John Thune is part of those discussions, no.
Got it. Okay. You mentioned the cabinet. One of the departments here in Washington is the Department of Education. And Republicans have long tried to eliminate it. Donald Trump made this promise out on the campaign trail. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
We want federal education dollars to follow the student rather than propping up a bloated and radical bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., which is what we're doing now ultimately. We want to close the Federal Department of Education, and we're going to do that, and we're going to move it all back into our states.
Corey, as we focus on these cabinet appointments, the head of the Department of Education is one of them. Is it the belief, is it the thinking that Donald Trump will actually nominate someone, or might he not, considering he wants to get rid of the department altogether?
Well, listen, I've been around this business a long time. The one thing I have learned is not to get out in front of President Trump when he's making announcements. So I can tell you that the team continues to take every look at departments which can be consolidated, individuals who can lead these departments. And in the coming days, you'll continue to see additional cabinet secretaries, whether it's the Treasury, the Transportation, the Labor Department. There are still many secretaries to be released, and I don't want to get out in front of anybody.
What's the profile of a Treasury? So Donald Trump has announced much of the national security apparatus, or sort of what fits in that bucket. But he hasn't gone the economic route yet, and obviously the big pick there is Treasury. What's the profile, Corey, of what Donald Trump is looking for?
Well, someone who understands how to make sure our country and our economy is moving again, making sure that we don't have high interest rates, making sure that we are benefiting and valuing the manufacturing here in this country as opposed to overseas. So, you know, what you see in the two candidates are both have extensive experience on Wall Street. Both are recognized as experts in their respective field. I'm talking about Mr. Lutnick and Mr. Bessent. So those two seem to be the two candidates that have the best chance to be the Treasury Secretary. But next week is when the president's team is scheduled to roll out the economic team. That includes the National Economic Advisor, the Council on Economic Advisors, and others. This week was Homeland Security Week, and you've seen that.
Here's what I keyed in on what you just said, Corey, lowering interest rates, because as you know, it was Steve Mnuchin who led to the pick, or who advocated for Jerome Powell. His position comes up in 2026. Donald Trump will have a decision to make there. Is it a requirement, or is it at the top of the list that the next Treasury Secretary will give Donald Trump a selection or a name who will be behind the idea of lowering rates no matter what?
Look, I don't want to say that there's any specific criteria other than the fact that these people work on behalf of the American people and make sure that every American has the opportunity to have more of their own money, which is cutting taxes, lowering spending. That's the criteria to come into the Trump administration. That's what Donald Trump ran on, and that's what he's going to execute on.
Thank you for watching. And make sure you go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.